St.Gael, do you actually believe that the Democrats left us high and dry? No, I do, and I've said it before. I do believe that Democrats have a plan. What that plan is, or when it's going to be executed, is the question, or whether it's a good plan, I don't know. I do believe they had plenty of plans, some of which didn't actually come through, but they have a plan. But the question is that angle worth all of this harm? If you're part of the people who are being harmed, can't even get a passport. If it goes on much longer, it's not. The poem isn't first they came for the Jews, but maybe there's a higher purpose, then they came for this, and then there's a higher purpose. That's not the poem. You see, France, when they gave up their sovereignty to the Third Reich, they were looking for the higher good, right? They're like, I'm gonna protect France, I'm gonna protect the French, and I'm gonna give over our Jews. Does anyone ask the Jews to be thankful that France gave them over to protect the country? So I do believe that there is a plan. How many will be sacrificed or how long that will take for this plan to come to fruition is the question. And then the actual thing is, was it worth it? Is it going to be worth all the harm that will have been done in order to get to that end goal, whatever that is? I don't care if that's saving X, Y, Z, blah, blah, you know? Why are they sacrificing so many for this end goal? And maybe there's no end goal. Maybe they don't actually know what they're doing. Maybe they don't have a solution, or they had a solution, but it didn't work out. So I do believe they have a plan. I just don't know if it's a good plan. I don't know if it's a plan that's going to sacrifice many for whatever angle they believe is a higher good. I just know that every day that goes by is an audacity that they have that will be increase because we're legitimizing this regime, right? Or legitimizing this coup. And to believe that the traditional channels of, let's say, congressional action and like the rule of law will help is just not true. Can it be foreign, assistance? It can be if it was pre-authorized, if some sort of like military personnel allowed for that. Can it be the military? Technically, but there's a lot of MAGA in there as well. And can it be the people? Yes, it can be the people, but at what point do we realize that we were left high and dry and we have to actually defend ourselves? We don't actually know that because there's no guidance from up there, except for keep the faith, right? Or he will mess up one day. He's been messing up since before, Chuck Schumer, right? So it becomes a question of, is the means to the end, which is American suffering, particularly certain kinds of Americans, suffering and being harmed, worth that angle? And I believe as much as we extend into this with every day that goes on, it's not. So if they have a plan, they need to execute it in the days that are coming, not the months, not the years. I don't intend to make a smear campaign against the Democrats. I just want them to grow a backbone. We need guidance, and they're not existing as that. We need action, and they're not existing as that. As there are certain ones, AOC, Jasmine, but I'm speaking of the collective. It is the coach, not the team. Particularly, it is the political elite, right? Because us as Democrat voters, like what I go to the Democrat Party for is what I find when I speak to the Democrat voters, but that's not what I see with our leaders, and that's a problem. Because we all mobilized under this brand for a specific reason, and it seems like they're not funneling that into the governance, right? So there are immense issues within the party, and I don't know whether that means that it has to be reformed, whether it has to be split, or whether we just have to replace it. I mean, particularly the old form Democrat strategy never works. It doesn't work. So I do believe they have a plan. Is it a good plan? I'm not sure. And that's what really makes me feel some type of way, because it's like if you have a plan, you do it as soon as possible because, we need to breathe. We're suffocating here. And two, I want to bring up something that's always brought up, which is that I should be in Congress. And I don't know if I'll fit the culture, I don't think if I'm the right fit. I'm definitely not one to hold my tongue when I believe that something, it's not that it's unjust, but that it's unconstitutional. Not only constitutional in the legalities of it, but let's say, Marjorie Taylor Greene brings up something about America. I have the knowledge to understand whether or not that's true. And if it's not true, then I'm going to make it seem as such so that the people listening understand that that is not true and it is just speculation or personal opinion, not constitutional foundation. While I have a lot of respect and am capable of compromise, I do not care about decorum when that other side does not care about decorum. So I'm not going to want to have respectability when they do not show that to me or my constituents or the country. I'm also really bad at just running in regards to like trying to get someone to like me, like to vote for me, because why would I do that? I mean, I know the importance of doing it, but why would I just maybe because I have ADHD, I'm just like, I don't see why I would want to do this. Like, if you're gonna vote for me, you're gonna vote for me, and obviously I have to tell you why you want to vote for me, right? But I don't care about doing any of those steps in order to get to that position, if that makes sense. Spending all this money on ads, like, that's not something that I want to care about. Yes, I want to have an impact in creating that political change and that political shift and changing around the climate of the governance of the United States of America. However, I don't want to beg people to vote for me. That's weird. When I was younger and people would tell me that I was going to be president one day, I don't want to be president one day, I would tell them that I wanted to be the president's speechwriter. And that's because I like to be in the shadows. I like to be in the background. It just so happened that the moments in time require me to rise above and to exactly where I have to be in order to create that change. So I'm not saying that I'm going to disregard any options. However, it is not something that I'm driven to do. I'm just driven to create that change, driven to reduce that political bullshit that they try to feed us so that that there is result, right? The only thing is they have no political willingness to do it, maybe not as individuals, but as a collective. And the next one is the reality that I don't know if I would totally fit into the Democratic Party, because I do not blame like AOC, Jasmine, or any other like squad member who kind of has to put themselves a little back because there's a collective mandate that you have to abide by. So I understand that there's a ethical thing to that where you are kind of attached to that party, even if it's a chaotic strategy that's not useful. So within that reality, I would want to make a whole shift and disruption of the Democratic Party because it's not working how it is, and I would not shut up until they do something about it. I don't like the runarounds of like the political language, because I can understand the political language. I can decipher the political language. I can decipher the legal language. So I know when they're bullshitting me, and I know how to de-engineer that. That's what I've been doing in the last like years, the last past like 5 years, doing that, de-engineering all of this bullshit so that I can be basically immune to all of this s to better promote better political decision making for anyone, right? And through that, I didn't just want to base that on my opinion, but I had to have a boundary of what's truth, and that is the United States Constitution. That's the United States American Constitutionalism Foundation, in which is guided through a North Star, obviously through the Federalist Papers, through the United States Constitution, and can be held by other texts. However, those are the most important ones. And then obviously statutes and laws. However, the Constitution is above that, which is why I'm like, oh, this is the middle ground. This is where no matter what your political ideology is, this is what you should love. But then I realized, hey, Republicans are actually anti-Constitution on their foundation. The voters don't know this, but they know this through their textualism. So I won't be bullshitted. Marjorie Taylor Greene says something, I'll be like, where exactly in this Constitution is it? I will ridicule if I was in Congress. I think the congressional sessions would be entirely fun, and I think people would actually watch them because I would just drag, not even like in a mean way, but just like, where exactly in this provision is it? Where, Lauren Bobart? Where is it? I want to know. So maybe more people would watch the actual sessions if I was there, but complicated relationship with politics. However, as I've said, I don't have a smear campaign against the Democratic Party. However, I want them to act. I want them to show that they're actually listening, that they're actually alive, and there is no excuse, even like threats, that can warrant them sacrificing over 430 million Americans. I don't care what that threat is. That's cowardice. So whatever it is, I need them to act up. I need them to get better. However, that's the kind of love-hate relationship I have with our progressive party, I guess. And my ADHD went on a tangent, but that's the FAQs for today.